For 15 years, I thought I had the perfect life. A successful husband, a beautiful home, and a best friend who had been by my side through everything. What I did not know was that behind my back, the two most important people in my life were plotting the ultimate betrayal. When I finally discovered the truth, I made sure they both paid a price they would never forget. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how I turned their betrayal into their complete destruction. I met my husband Daniel in college, and we seemed like the perfect match. He was studying business while I was pursuing my degree in graphic design. We complemented each other beautifully. He was the ambitious go-getter while I was the creative dreamer. After graduation, we got married and built what everyone considered an ideal life together. Daniel started his own consulting firm, which became incredibly successful over the years. I freelanced as a graphic designer, eventually building my own small but profitable design business. We bought a beautiful house in the suburbs, took amazing vacations, and seemed to have everything we could want. The only thing missing was children, but we had agreed early in our marriage that we were happy just being a couple. My best friend Rebecca had been part of our lives since college. She was single, fun-loving, and had always been the third wheel in our relationship. She was over at our house constantly, joined us on vacations, and was essentially family. I trusted her completely and considered her the sister I never had. Rebecca worked in marketing and was quite successful in her own right. She lived in a trendy downtown apartment and dated frequently, though never seriously. She always joked that she was too picky to settle down, and that she enjoyed living vicariously through Daniel and me since we had found true love. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I missed. The way Rebecca always seemed to know when Daniel would be home before I did. How she would show up at our house when I was out of town on business trips. The inside jokes they shared that I was never part of. The way they would sometimes exchange glances that seemed to carry hidden meaning. But I was oblivious. I trusted them both completely, and it never occurred to me that the two people I loved most in the world would betray me so completely. The first crack in my perfect world appeared about 6 months before I discovered the truth. Daniel started working late more frequently, claiming that his business was expanding and he needed to put in extra hours. He would come home exhausted and distracted, barely acknowledging me before collapsing into bed. At the same time, Rebecca seemed to be busier than usual. She would cancel our girls' nights out at the last minute, claiming work emergencies or sudden dates with mysterious men she never wanted to talk about. When we did spend time together, she seemed nervous and distracted, as if her mind was somewhere else. I attributed these changes to the natural evolution of our relationships. We were all in our 30s now, with demanding careers and different priorities. I figured Daniel was just focused on growing his business, and Rebecca was finally getting serious about her dating life. How wrong I was. The truth came out in the most devastating way possible. During our 15th wedding anniversary party, Daniel and I had decided to throw a big celebration at our house, inviting all our friends and family to celebrate this milestone in our marriage. I had spent weeks planning the perfect party, hiring caterers, decorating the house, and coordinating with Rebecca to make sure everything went smoothly. Rebecca had volunteered to help with the preparations, arriving early to assist with the setup. She seemed more nervous than usual, but I assumed she was just worried about everything going perfectly for our special day. Daniel was running late from a client meeting, which was becoming increasingly common, but I was not worried because Rebecca was there to help me handle any last-minute issues. The party was in full swing when I realized I needed to grab some extra wine glasses from our bedroom closet upstairs. As I climbed the stairs, I could hear voices coming from our bedroom. Daniel's voice and a woman's voice that sounded familiar, but seemed out of place. I pushed open the bedroom door and found Daniel and Rebecca in a passionate embrace, completely oblivious to my presence. They were so caught up in each other that they did not even notice me standing there, watching the two people I trusted most in the world destroy my life in a single moment. The rage that filled me in that moment was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was not just anger. It was a cold, calculating fury that seemed to slow down time and sharpen my focus. I could have screamed, could have caused a scene that would have humiliated them in front of all our guests. Instead, I quietly backed out of the room and closed the door behind me. I went downstairs and continued hosting the party as if nothing had happened. I smiled, I laughed, I accepted congratulations on our wonderful marriage, and I played the role of the happy wife celebrating 15 years of wedded bliss. But inside, my mind was racing, formulating a plan that would make them both pay for what they had done to me. The party ended without incident. Daniel and Rebecca both acted completely normal, as if they had not just been caught red-handed destroying my marriage. They mingled with the guests, laughed at jokes, and even made a point of being publicly affectionate with me to maintain their facades. After everyone left and we were cleaning up, Daniel made a show of being the attentive husband, helping me put away dishes and talking about what a wonderful party it had been. Rebecca hugged me goodbye and thanked me for including her in such a special celebration. The level of deception was breathtaking. That night, as Daniel slept beside me, I lay awake planning my revenge. I knew that simply confronting them, or filing for divorce would not be enough. They had betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible, and they deserved consequences that matched the severity of their actions. I decided that my revenge would have 3 phases: discovery, preparation, and execution. I would gather evidence of their affair, prepare for the legal and financial battles ahead, and then destroy them both so completely that they would regret ever crossing me. The discovery phase took about 3 weeks. I hired a private investigator to document their affair, providing him with their schedules and likely meeting places. I also began going through Daniel's computer and phone when he was not around, looking for evidence of their relationship. What I found was worse than I had imagined. The affair had been going on for over 2 years, starting shortly after Rebecca's last serious relationship had ended. They had been meeting at hotels, at her apartment, and even in our own home when I was out of town. The text messages between them were full of declarations of love and detailed plans for their future together. The most devastating discovery was a series of emails discussing their plans to get rid of me. They had been strategically planning to end my marriage in a way that would leave Daniel with most of our assets and Rebecca with a clear conscience. They had researched divorce lawyers, discussed how to hide assets, and even talked about fabricating evidence of infidelity on my part to make me look like the guilty party. Rebecca had been particularly cruel in these communications, calling me naive and pathetic for not suspecting anything. She wrote about how easy it had been to manipulate me, and how she looked forward to taking my place as Daniel's wife. She even joked about keeping some of my furniture, because she had always admired my decorating taste. The preparation phase involved protecting myself legally and financially. I secretly consulted with the best divorce attorney in the city, providing him with all the evidence I had gathered and discussing strategies for the upcoming battle. I also began moving money from our joint accounts into accounts that Daniel could not access, ensuring that I would have the resources I needed for the fight ahead. I discovered that Daniel had been hiding assets from me, setting up accounts and investments that I knew nothing about. With my attorney's help, I was able to trace these hidden assets and build a case for fraud and deception that would work in my favor during the divorce proceedings. I also began building a case against Rebecca that would destroy her career and reputation. Through my investigation, I learned that she had been using her position at her marketing firm to embezzle money for their secret rendezvous and gifts for Daniel. She had been charging personal expenses to client accounts and manipulating her expense reports to cover the costs of their affair. The execution phase began exactly 2 months after I had discovered their betrayal. I had chosen the timing carefully. It was the weekend of Daniel's biggest client presentation of the year, an account that would make or break his consulting firm's future. I started by confronting Daniel at his office on Friday afternoon, just as he was preparing for his Monday presentation. I walked into his conference room where he was rehearsing with his team, and calmly announced that I knew about his affair with Rebecca, and that I would be filing for divorce immediately. The look of shock and panic on his face was extremely satisfying. He tried to deny everything at first, but when I started reading from the text messages and emails I had discovered, he realized that denial was pointless. His entire team was sitting there listening to the details of his affair, including his plans to defraud me in the divorce. I left him sitting there, humiliated in front of his employees, and went straight to Rebecca's office. I found her in a meeting with her biggest client, presenting a marketing campaign that she had been working on for months. I walked into the conference room and asked if I could have a word with her privately. When she stepped outside, I handed her a folder containing copies of all the evidence I had gathered about her affair with Daniel, including the financial records showing her embezzlement. I told her that I had already sent copies to her boss and to the client she was currently meeting with. "You have about 10 minutes before your career is over," I said calmly. "I thought you might want to use that time to call a lawyer." I could see the blood drain from her face as she realized the magnitude of what was happening. She tried to grab my arm and beg me to reconsider, but I was already walking away. By the time I got home, both of their worlds were collapsing. Daniel's client had pulled out of the deal after learning about his personal and professional ethical issues. His business partners were calling emergency meetings to discuss the impact on their firm. Several other clients were reconsidering their contracts after learning about Daniel's character issues. Rebecca's situation was even worse. Her boss had fired her immediately after reviewing the evidence of her embezzlement. The client she had been meeting with had terminated their contract and was threatening legal action. Word was already spreading through the marketing community about her unethical behavior, making it unlikely that she would ever work in the field again. But I was not finished yet. Over the weekend, I implemented the final phase of my revenge. I had prepared a detailed presentation about their affair, complete with photos, text messages, emails, and financial records. I sent this presentation to everyone in our social circle, including their families, mutual friends, and professional contacts. The presentation was titled, "The True Story of Daniel and Rebecca's Love Affair," and it laid out their entire relationship in devastating detail. I included their plans to defraud me, their cruel comments about my naivety, and the evidence of Rebecca's embezzlement. I made sure that everyone who had attended our anniversary party understood exactly what had been happening behind closed doors while they were celebrating our marriage. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Friends who had known us for years were shocked and disgusted by their behavior. Daniel's family was mortified by his actions and the way he had humiliated me. Rebecca's parents called to apologize and to assure me that they had raised her better than this. The social consequences were swift and severe. Daniel and Rebecca found themselves completely ostracized from our community. Invitations to social events dried up, professional networking opportunities disappeared, and they became social pariahs virtually overnight. The legal consequences were even more satisfying. My divorce attorney used the evidence of Daniel's attempted fraud and hidden assets to secure a settlement that gave me more than half of our marital property, including our house and most of his business assets. Daniel was forced to buy out my share of his consulting firm at market value, which left him deeply in debt and struggling to keep his business afloat. Rebecca faced criminal charges for embezzlement and was required to pay restitution to her former employer. She also faced civil lawsuits from several clients whose accounts she had manipulated. The legal fees and restitution payments left her financially ruined. But perhaps the most satisfying consequence was watching their relationship crumble under the pressure. When their affair was secret and exciting, it had seemed romantic and passionate. But when they were forced to face the real-world consequences of their actions, the relationship could not survive. Daniel blamed Rebecca for being careless with her embezzlement, saying that her illegal activities had exposed their affair and ruined his business. Rebecca blamed Daniel for not protecting her when everything fell apart, accusing him of being a coward who abandoned her when she needed him most. Within 6 months of my discovery, they had broken up in a bitter and public fight that provided the perfect ending to my revenge story. They had destroyed their careers, their reputations, and their relationship, all for an affair that ultimately meant nothing to either of them. Meanwhile, I was thriving. The divorce settlement had left me financially secure, and my design business was growing rapidly as word spread about my strength and resilience in the face of betrayal. I had gained respect in both my professional and personal circles for the way I had handled the situation with dignity and strategic intelligence. I moved to a beautiful apartment downtown and began rebuilding my life on my own terms. I traveled, pursued new hobbies, and reconnected with friends I had neglected during my marriage. For the first time in years, I was truly happy and free. The last time I saw Daniel was at the final divorce hearing. He looked haggard and defeated, having lost his business, his reputation, and his relationship with Rebecca. He tried to approach me afterward to apologize, but I walked past him without acknowledgement. He had made his choices, and now he was living with the consequences. I never saw Rebecca again, though I heard through mutual friends that she had moved to another city to try to start over. Her reputation had been so thoroughly destroyed in our hometown that finding work had become impossible. She had been forced to take a job in retail, a far cry from the high-powered marketing career she had thrown away for her affair with Daniel. Some people have suggested that my revenge was too harsh, that I should have simply divorced Daniel quietly and moved on with my life. But I disagree completely. Daniel and Rebecca had not just cheated. They had planned and executed a systematic betrayal that was designed to leave me with nothing while they lived happily ever after. They had underestimated me, assuming that I was too naive and trusting to fight back effectively. They thought they could manipulate and deceive me without facing any real consequences. I proved them wrong in the most decisive way possible. My revenge was not just about punishing them for their affair. It was about exposing their true characters and ensuring that they could never hurt anyone else the way they had hurt me. It was about showing them that actions have consequences and that betrayal comes with a price. Most importantly, it was about reclaiming my power and self-respect. For 2 years, I had been living a lie without knowing it. I had been the victim of an elaborate deception that made me look foolish and naive. My revenge transformed me from victim to victor, from the naive wife who got cheated on to the strong woman who fought back and won. The experience taught me valuable lessons about trust, betrayal, and the importance of protecting yourself in relationships. I learned that even the people closest to you can be capable of devastating betrayal, and that sometimes the only way to deal with such betrayal is to fight back with everything you have. I also learned that revenge, when executed properly, can be incredibly satisfying and therapeutic. Rather than spending years in therapy trying to process my feelings about their betrayal, I channeled my anger into action that not only punished them, but also protected other potential victims from their deception. Daniel's business practices and character flaws were exposed, preventing him from defrauding other clients or business partners. Rebecca's embezzlement was discovered and prosecuted, ensuring that she could not steal from future employers. Their affair was exposed, preventing them from continuing to deceive me and others about the nature of their relationship. My revenge served justice in a way that simply walking away never could have accomplished. It held them accountable for their actions and ensured that they faced appropriate consequences for their choices. Looking back now, 3 years after the discovery of their affair, I can honestly say that I regret nothing about how I handled the situation. My revenge was calculated, comprehensive, and completely effective. It destroyed their ability to hurt me or anyone else, while giving me the closure and satisfaction I needed to move forward with my life. Daniel and Rebecca learned a valuable lesson about the dangers of betraying someone who is smarter and stronger than they assumed. They discovered that not all victims will quietly accept their fate, and that some people will fight back with devastating effectiveness. Their story serves as a warning to anyone who thinks they can manipulate and deceive others without facing consequences. It demonstrates that betrayal can be a very expensive mistake, especially when the victim has the intelligence, resources, and determination to seek justice. My story, on the other hand, is a testament to the power of strategic thinking, careful planning, and decisive action in the face of betrayal. It shows that sometimes the best response to deception is not forgiveness or understanding, but complete and total destruction of those who wronged you. The revenge I executed was not just about getting even, it was about getting ahead. While Daniel and Rebecca lost everything, I gained freedom, financial security, and the respect of everyone who witnessed how I handled their betrayal. I turned their attempt to destroy my life into an opportunity to build a better one. That is the real power of well-executed revenge. It does not just punish your enemies. It elevates you above them and ensures that you emerge from the conflict stronger than you were before. It transforms you from victim to victor and gives you the satisfaction of knowing that justice has been served. Daniel and Rebecca thought they were so clever, planning their affair and their escape from responsibility. They never imagined that their victim would turn out to be their worst nightmare. They learned too late that some people should never be underestimated, and some betrayals should never be attempted. Their affair cost them everything: their careers, their reputations, their financial security, and ultimately their relationship with each other. My revenge was swift, decisive, and permanent. They will spend years recovering from the consequences of crossing me, if they ever recover at all. Meanwhile, I am living my best life, free from their deception and stronger than ever. I proved that sometimes the best revenge is not just getting even, but getting everything while your enemies are left with nothing. Justice was served, karma came full circle, and the cheaters got exactly what they deserved. Sometimes the victim wins, and sometimes the victory is so complete that the perpetrators never recover. This was one of those times. If you loved this story of ultimate betrayal and even sweeter revenge, smash that subscribe button and join the Revenge Janet family. We bring you the most satisfying stories of cheaters getting caught, liars being exposed, and karma serving justice in the most brutal ways possible. Hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads, and drop a comment below sharing your own revenge stories. We love hearing from our community of justice warriors. Remember, at Revenge Janet, we believe that every betrayal deserves consequences, and every cheater gets what is coming to them. Thanks for watching, and remember, karma always wins in the end.